There's not a lot of light around here.
No, that's what we're seeing in the night.
Didn't want to break your lens on your camera, really.
Sorry, mate, do you mind just...
Just here, right in the middle. How are you? You're very special, sir. Gary, how are you, sir? Excellent. You know, I never thought that I would be in a movie with Tom or Clint, and to watch them work. I mean, he's an icon in our business. He's made just amazing films, so it's very privileged to sit in the right-hand seat.
The whole world saw the plane land on the Hudson years ago. When you saw it,
I remember the people getting out on the plane. It was a cold January day in New York. I thought, what's that plane doing in the middle of the Hudson? And it was amazing to recreate it, you know, to be out there in the Hudson with the first responders, the very people who were there helping the passenger. But they have different, you know, sort of approaches to humor. I mean, Tom's very outgoing, he's very gregarious, always has time for everybody else, and Clint's a little bit more reserved. But both are very generous with their time and tell great stories.
and what's next for Aaron?
Maybe seen as quite US specific. Do you think it translates well internationally?
For sure. I mean, first of all, when I saw the story, I was abroad making a movie, and I remember seeing the passengers get onto the wing, and so it was very much in the psyche of. I was in Europe at the time. But, you know, everybody gets in a plane. You know, everybody has those questions. Everybody questions the apparatus, the pilots, you know, the procedures. And, you know, so I think everybody can understand that, you know, you hear the whine of the engines, you know, and then to hear silence, to have birds hit a plane and hear silence, everybody sort of fears that. What happens when a plane, you know, doesn't have power? You know, people think that a plane just sinks to the ground or, you know, just drops, but that's not true. So all those people up in the air right now in the world, thousands of passengers in airplanes, you know, they're probably thinking, you know, some of those thoughts. So I think it's a worldwide story. It's been very successful other places in the world and in America.
What I really like about the film is the relationship between you and Tom Hanks. You know, really supportive colleagues. It's quite rare to see that actually. How did you two
In
work
what
on
sense?
Well, I guess in films it's kind of more interesting to see antagonism and clashing than supportive relationships between co-workers especially.
Yeah, I mean, Tom's obviously, he's the protagonist in the movie, and my role was just to support him and to move around him and see how he works and support him as our hero through the story. It's interesting that everybody, you know, people think that pilots know each other, but they didn't know each other at all. They were on the fourth leg of a flight schedule and didn't really know each other's capabilities. They knew that they were pilots, but were just getting to know each other. And then they went through this event, which shows the protocols that are in place for accidents. It's very thorough, and their training is very, very thorough. But it's good. It was fun to support Tom and Clint and the movie, and to, you know, put my little touches on it subtly, you know, wherever I could, and support the film.
And working with Clint,
It's good. Congratulations on the
Thank
film.
you.
I just want to ask you, when you read the script, what was it that really drew you into wanting to take on this role?
Well, I mean, when Clint Eastwood calls you up and Tom Hanks is starring in the movie, I didn't even need to read the script, really. But the script was excellent. Tom Kowernicki did it. It's the whole NTSB, the National Transportation Safety Board inquiry afterwards. You know, the fact that even the thought that these heroes who saved 155 people's lives could be questioned and maybe culpable of this forced landing. And you got a $60 million plane and drink, and somebody's got to account for that. So, you know, questions like, did you drink last night? Did you get enough food? Did you fight with your wife? These mundane, sort of invasive questions coming their way. And the audience, when they see it, are very surprised because they didn't hear about that side of the story. Had they been found culpable, they would have lost their jobs, their pensions, their reputations, and it was so ferocious, or so there was so much pressure on them. It went through 18 months of not knowing whether or not they were ever going to fly again. So it really took a toll on the pilots.
And because there was after the release of the film, there was a little bit of sort of back and forth about whether the dramatisation of that investigation might have had a negative effect on people and their view of how they investigate.
Well, that's an interesting question because the actual inquiry was longer in real life. It took place over 18 months, but for this film we had to condense it. And Sully said at the end of the day, it wasn't an adversarial relationship. It was a more due diligence relationship and just an accountability relationship. So hey, a little bit of Hollywood in there.
Excellent.
You know what I mean?
Thank you very much.
Nice to meet you.
You too. Thank you.
Hi there.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm worried to be my own fault.
I wanted to ask you what went through your head when you found out this film was being made.
Well, we were very gratified that it was in such good hands. It really is a dream team. Couldn't have been better.
Are you pleased with the results?
We are. I think it's true to the emotion of the story, and particularly in the aviation sequences, it's very accurate, very authentic. In some cases, verbatim taken from the cockpit voice recorder.
What was it like? Because obviously it was not a positive experience. What was it like?
Emotional experience for all four of us in our family to see it in a private screening for the first time. We liked the film. It took some time for us to put into words all the things that we're feeling. And with each successive viewing of the film, especially seeing it with an audience for the first time and hearing and seeing the audience's reaction, it really filled in a lot of the gaps in how we felt about the film. I think they did a good job in capturing the enormity of that moment and the initial aftermath.
It's cool.
Oh, thank you. Good. Tom, how would you describe Sully? What qualities you like about him?
He's the most particular human being I've ever met. And I've met particular people. I've met men who walked on the moon. I've met women who have, helped shape the world in any number of disciplines. He, however, is a man that every day he went to work, he was actually cheating physics. Because men and women, mankind is not supposed to fly, but without anything happening. That's really quite, that's, when you think about it, that's a guy who has to look at every bolt, every screw, every turn of the page, every to-do list, everything that could possibly go wrong, he has to be proactively aware of. And he's built for that, Sully. When we were in Ireland doing Saving Private Ryan, there was an advertisement for the hotel where the crew was staying, and on the radio they would say, "Come on by, have a drink with the Ryan crew." It's like, guys, don't tell us we're living here. We're gonna but who knows what's going to happen? Who knows what's going to happen?
That's the fun of living in Ireland.
Oh, it is, And it was funny. I was just sitting in a car. And I was in a little village called Screen, Scrin. You tell me the pronunciation.
Screen will be fine.
Screen will be fine. And a young boy was coming by and was wearing his Wellingtons, because he'd been out, bossing the cows around. And he saw me sitting in a car, and I said, "Oh, this kid's recognized me. He's going to ask me for an autograph." But he came up to me and he said, "Hello." I said, "Hey, how you doing?" He says, "Are you here with the film?" I said, yeah, I am. He said, well, welcome to Screen. And then he walked away. I said, I like Ireland. This is all right.
I've heard a rumour, actually, that it was an Irishman, Vincent Dowling, that introduced you to acting. Is that true?
Yes, it is. He was an artistic director of the Great Lakes Shakespeare Festival in the late 1970s, and he guest directed a use of people from my hometown, and he directed then, and he wisely scooped up a bunch of us to come and work ridiculous hours for no pay at his theater. It was the greatest experience I've ever had.
And what was it about the character Sully that made you sign on the dotted line? We all remember the playing man. Was that it, or was there something else to it?
Well, what the character went through was the thing that got me. I thought I knew the story, but Todd Kowarnicki's screenplay, and of course a chance to work with Clint, that's nothing to sneeze at. But the challenge that he was playing Sully was going to pose on me as an actor was I could never stop learning about the moment and the man. I had millions of questions, and I was seeking out answers. Sometimes they're very small, procedure sorts of things you want to get right. And then there was other moments where, between the footage and the book and the man himself, I would go to him and say, "Are we making too big of this moment in the movie?" And he said, "Well, you are there, but you're not making too big of a moment in the next thing that happens." So finding out sort of like the heartbeat and the pulse of the man himself, who, as the guy playing him, I do not want to make him angry, So I was very lucky that he was as willing as he was to share a very, very vibrant part of his life with me.
And Tom, you're one of the biggest movie stars in the
Is there? Okay, all right. Not always. I can name you some that weren't, didn't?
Captain Phillips, come on. But it's been a while since you were on stage receiving that little golden man.
Yeah, that happened back before HD. You can't. I've been lucky enough to be there. Have been there 5 times, and there's nothing you can do. It's a binary thing. It's just all you can do. It's like making the playoffs. You know, you hope to be able to be invited, and you hope that your soup is good food. That's it.
It was double congratulations because you're screening this film and you're a recipient of the Medal of Freedom.
Oh yeah,
yesterday.
yeah. That's extraordinary. Yeah, it's quite a group of people. I mean, everybody from Admiral Grace Potter to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Lorne Michaels and myself. Look, I'm just a dumb kid from Oakland, California. I don't know how any of this happened, but I'm glad that I'm very fortunate that I've been able to work enough that it rates such a nod from such a man as the President of the United States.
And to be one of Obama's last recipients,
Yeah.
how's that feel?
Well, bittersweet because we have term limits. If he was running again, I would have voted for another 4 years. It ends up being so much of what I think is so much of the promise of the United States. Look, I'm an American. There's no getting around it. I've been able to enjoy the great benefits of my country and my upbringing. And if a guy like me, I know it sounds ridiculous, I know, but if I was just a guy from Birmingham and I found myself being an OBE or knighted by the Queen, I'd feel the same way. What a place where a guy like me can end up taking a knee before Her Majesty.
And also, I'm a huge Toy Story fan. I can't wait for Toy Story 4.
Oh well, it's been bumped to 2018, I think now. But we've already started recording, so it's in the works.
Can you give us a little bit of Woody?
I'm giving. This is how Woody speaks right now. He doesn't have any other voice but mine. We've all the movies are made in such tiny increments over long periods of time. We go into the recording studio and there's a prepared text and you go off that text and you keep experimenting with it, and then they take what you've recorded and they put it through another ringer of creativity and alteration. So, well, I'm like you. I can't wait to see what they've got Woody up to.
Thank you. Congratulations on the film.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Congratulations on the film.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask, when you got the script, what was it about the story that made you want to play this role?
Well, I didn't think there was. I said the same. What can you do? You landed the plane, and that's a great thing. And is there something else that goes on there? And Todd Komarnicki, who is a screenplay, and nothing happens unless it's written down. He had gone off and cracked what were the second and third acts of what the experience was. On one hand, there's that saying, "No good deed goes unpunished," and in the case of aviation incidents, no good deeds goes unexamined or uninvestigated. And what Sully went through post that instinctive act of it took place over 208 seconds, resulted in it wasn't exactly a prosecutorial process, but it was one where he had to explain again and again and again everything from the evidence of 40 odd years as an aviator, as well as what he had for dinner the night before, if that could have possibly have affected what happened on the flight. Why did they're always asking the question, tell us again why a $110 million airplane landed in the water? Explain that again to us. And he had to, and both he and Jeff Skiles, the co-pilot, had no idea if they were going to be found responsible somehow for the loss of that airplane. And if that had happened, his life as he knew it would have been over, and he would have been an outcast in his chosen field. That's a pressure that did not leave him for the better part of 2 years.
And how did you find that? Did you work alongside the real Sully a lot to find that character and find those moments with him?
There is an ocean of videotape to look at because he spoke about it quite a bit, and you can see that. Oh, I see. He's learned how to tell his life story on video now. That's a skill that you acquire. There was also his book that talked about his life, that provided a huge amount of backstory that you keep inside. But then there was the man himself who was looking at the screenplay as what was going to be it's going to be a documentation of everything that he's gone through. And he had opinions, and he had concerns, and he had changes, large and small, that he wanted to be made for the sake of the historical record. And luckily, screenplay is a malleable thing. Clint Eastwood was not looking in order to rewrite his motivations or what happened. He wanted to get down to the human cost of, if they can say that was a human cost, they went beyond the fact that everybody lived. And he was, by credit to the man and also to his wife Lori, they were very open about how their lives changed after the two things that happened. One is that he did a heroic thing, and then after that he was treated as a hero. They're not the same, they don't have the same end result.
And just very quickly, what was your biggest concern about playing this role? What did you feel, I have to absolutely nail that?
Well, I think it was, as always is, it's like making sure that we're reflecting human nature as opposed to telegraphing some other act of some territory. He's a human being that is very particular about his expertise and his process, his procedure. And I didn't want to make it anything that would be recognizable and say, oh, that's what pilots do, and that's how pilots act, as opposed to being some live by night throttle jockey who breaks the system wide open. A very, very specific process. A train of events went into what happened both before, during, and after the incident, and I want to tell the truth.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. My pleasure. Sure.
Nice to see you.
Hey, how you doing?
Cooperate.
So for my colleague here, did you ever see, you and your co-pilot, did you ever see this unexpected turn of events?
I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Did you ever see your life taking this unexpected turn for both of you? I mean, this came out of the blue.
That day was such a shock. After 30 years of routine airline flying, where I'd never been so challenged in an airplane, I doubted the outcome, to suddenly be confronted with such a challenge, and then to have this immediate public attention worldwide in the aftermath, neither one of those things could ever have happened in 100 normal lifetimes. It was a complete shock from start to finish, and just amazing. I never would have envisioned that.
Is it strange to have the word miracle right next to your name on the poster?
Well, I had to come to terms with that word a long time ago. I don't describe it that way, but then preparation on the Hudson doesn't have the same ring to it, does it? So I understand how people can think of it that way, but that's not the way I think of it.
So we'll be all right.
I celebrate with gratitude the outcome, but it was the result of a lot of preparation and hard work and dedication on the parts of many people.
Quickly, just when it came to the casting of the film, how hard did you push for Tom Hanks to play you?
Well, it wasn't up to us. It was up to Clint, obviously. He has creative control. But we certainly hoped and wished that he would go in that direction. And we learned a little bit about behind-the-scenes maneuvering after the fact. And it wasn't certain that he was going to be available. But we were very glad that he was.
I'll tell you, we go on long car rides a lot, and we called it the casting game. So when you're on a 3-hour car ride, you play the casting game. Well, who do you want? Well, what about this person? What about that person?
And the reality is, it was hard to imagine anybody else doing anything in retrospect.
And I guess you're very pleased with how it's turned out.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think he nailed it.
Lovely. Thanks for talking to us.
Great talking with you. Have a good evening.
Thank you, guys.